In 2023, 85% of women were complaining about postmenopausal symptoms, yet their doctors tell them it's just part of the process. It's true that menopause is mandatory, but Dr. Nicole, can you share why menopausal symptoms may be optional?
Well, they definitely are optional. First and foremost, some women go through menopause like a breeze, and others, it's a total nightmare. So why is that happening? Obviously, there are some variables in between that are allowing some women to go through this natural process a whole lot easier. And being told it's just your age, suck it up and deal with it, is a poor excuse for not having any answers to give. And so we really find that leaves women totally dismissed, feeling unheard. Maybe they're offered a medication like an antidepressant, which makes them think, oh, maybe it's me, I'm crazy. That's really not cool. Oh, it's just your age, suck it up. You've got to live this way the rest of your life. That's so disempowering.
Yeah.
Also, oh, well, how did your mom go through it? So it's based on your genetics now, that how you're going to go through menopause. It's in your control, and we're being led to believe it isn't. And so I'm here to shake that up. I really want not only women, I want men to know about this too, but I really want women to understand their bodies and be more empowered in this stage of life, because I feel like this is a stage where we can step into our best selves, our best lives. We're finally rid of that monthly, visitor. And why can't we be free and sexy and juicy and enjoy this stage and be at our smartest, our wisest, our best, and be able to give that to the world instead of our worst selves?
Well said. So why is it that most doctors are saying suck it up or prescribing an antidepressant, or you even mentioned before birth control pills, or even female doctors are saying these things? Is it because they just don't know how to get to the cause, or they're misinformed? What is the reason why they're giving this information?
I do believe they're misinformed. I think it's around 15% of women that are actually getting some sort of actual care for menopause.
That's it.
And that's about it. And so the other 85% are being just left in the lurch, not knowing what to do. Even the female women doctors, I have plenty of members that have female gynecologists, female primary doctors. They're telling the same thing. They don't even know what to do for themselves. So how are they supposed to help their patients with this? So I don't think they're really taught. There's a general consensus that you go through menopause and you just stop making these hormones that we need. And so if you're either replacing them or you just have to deal with it because this is now how your body is, it's really the only options that are being given. And birth control is a fake synthetic version of progesterone. It's not, or estrogen, depending on what you're getting. So it's not actually a natural form, and it actually creates even more disruption, more problem, just like it, for most women, is also doing in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s being on birth control. It's not an answer. It's just a Band-Aid. And it may help for a little while, but the long term, and I hear it often that it doesn't help, that they get much worse symptoms, gaining 30 pounds, getting bloating and all kinds of other problems. So most women aren't tolerating it, but it's really a Band-Aid at this point. So they don't have a lot of options of what to do and how to give. And the broken healthcare system is part of that, right? Where they have like 5 to 10 minutes max to even have a conversation about it. They might say, well, lose a few pounds or reduce your stress. But most women don't really know how to do that. They need help doing that. Mm-hmm. They need to understand, okay, you're telling me I need to lose weight. So what are they going to go on some crash diet or start taking, fen or, going on Weight Watchers? Or I guess there's ways, but really there's so much more to balancing out hormones than losing weight. You know that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's all those modalities are all treating the symptom, not getting to the cause. And we'll get into some of the things that you do with your clients and patients to get to the cause. Before we get there, can you explain the transition, right? A menstruating woman transitions to perimenopause, and then that transitions to postmenopause. What is happening at the hormonal level at those 3 different periods?
So the hormones are highest during the menstruating years. They fluctuate all throughout the month. They're not the same. That's why it's crazy to put someone on a birth control pill, because you're taking the same amount of hormones every day, except for 5 days a month, but your hormones are different all throughout the month. There's constant change. We have 30-day cycles. That means estrogen is higher sometimes, progesterone is higher sometimes. They're both lower sometimes. They're both higher sometimes. And there's other hormones that are involved as well. I'm not even talking about the whole slew of other hormones, right? And so as far as what's happening then is we're able to ovulate. Eggs are released. If the egg is not fertilized, then you get your period and the hormones all kind of drop down to the lowest again, and the cycle can start over. When we're going through perimenopause, and thinking back to puberty, remember puberty?
Yes, I do.
Good times, right?
Fun times.
So that took years. We forget because we were young, we were kids, but puberty takes years to go through. And was puberty easy?
It was a wild time.
It wasn't that easy.
Yeah.
Right? And so we weren't on this planet as many years, absorbing toxins for as many years, picking up as many stresses. I mean, some kids go through lots of stress, but as adults, we have our whole history, all of that coming with us, the stresses of everyday life. Many women have had their kids. They're many times taking care of parents at this age. So they go into perimenopause, right? So puberty is the brain is connecting with the sex glands, ovaries for women, testes for men. And perimenopause is when the brain is disconnecting again. So there's this window of time where the body is learning how to transfer the baton from the ovaries to the adrenals. Sometimes we get our period, the brain's connected to the ovary. Sometimes we don't. Okay, we're not connected this month, and we're not going to ovulate. The ovaries are just slowly going to sleep, essentially.
Yeah.
And menopause is when they're done. Now the adrenals are in charge. The adrenals are now responsible for taking over, making estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So if you've been burning the candle at both ends, okay, moms, ladies, daughters, badass CEOs, whatever you do, all of that is now on your adrenal glands. They're not taking good care of how you're eating. Maybe you don't get enough sleep. You're staying up late on your phone. You have different stressors, right? The adrenals are carrying the weight of our lives, and now they're asked to be given 3 new jobs. It's like their coworker quit. Think about, right? Your coworker leaves and you have to do all their work. And these poor little glands, they're like teeny tiny. They're responsible for so much, all of our stress response, and much more. And now they're not going to do it. They're like, screw that. I'm not really into that. And so we think we don't make hormones because the adrenals are just not prioritizing that. When your body is stressed, the priority is survival, not sex life, And so it becomes, that's the first biggest problem that I see. And, it's when women join the workforce, we didn't leave our old job behind, which was caring for the house and raising the kids and all of that. Instead, we just added another full-time job onto our lives. And it's a heavy burden. And I'm not saying I have a wonderful spouse who's, over there and he helps with all the house, we're sharing that, right? We share in that, but it's not always that way. It's not always that way. And there's this generalized viewpoint that we're responsible as the moms, right, to take care of the kids, to raise the kids. I'm not saying dads don't have their place. Of course they do. And there's lots of wonderful dads out there. But my first husband couldn't nurse my kids, right? I had to do that.
Yeah.
That was my job, right? So, and I was still working. I had a practice back then. And I nursed no bottles, never had bottles, neither kid. 2 years for the first kid, 2.5 for the second kid. So, it was hard. It was really hard. So all that, it started for me, I'm sure, but I also had tools. And I think that a lot of women are left without any kind of toolbox whatsoever. And they've not really been taking the best care of them. For trying to look good, that might be their general reason for working out and things.
Right. Yeah.
But that's not, yes, there's a sign of wellness how you look, but there's lots of ways to look amazing. It doesn't mean they're healthy, right?
True.
So I really see this as part of like how come perimenopause becomes such a disaster and such a nightmare is all of those stresses and all of those things, which makes it really hard. So then menopause, and a lot of women already had hormone imbalances. They've been on the birth control pill. Yeah. They've had an IUD, Mirena, that gives off hormones. They've had Depo shots and Nuva rings and things where they haven't. I've had women tell me I haven't had a period in 9 years because they put the ring or whatever in.
Wow.
9 years, your best detox you can do every single month, you stopped. And all that's up in your body. It's tragic.
Yeah.
It's tragic. So now to make that, now they're left without producing enough hormones. And because of their toxic or overburden at a cellular level, they're also not able to use their hormones properly. So the only way around it is either you're basically needing hormone replacement unless you learn how to make a change for yourself, and you can avoid all that.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah. We're going to get into that.
Yeah.
So just to unpack what you just shared.
Sure.
Menstruation, let's say every 30 days or so, women have different cycles there. And then perimenopause could be years, right? And 12 months without a period is classified as menopause. And then you're in menopause for a day, which is interesting. And then every day after that,
it's postmenopause.
It's postmenopause.
Right.
It's just interesting classification there. And what's happening is the adrenal glands are picking up the slack as the ovaries are preparing to shut down and eventually retire. So the adrenal glands are now producing testosterone, progesterone, and estrogen, three really important hormones, as the ovaries are producing less and less, and then eventually no more. So it sounds to me that supporting those adrenal glands are very important.
Critical. And
would you start doing that even before you're in menopause, meaning during your perimenopausal years as well?
Oh yeah. We have a lot of menopausal women we're trying to help right now, but what I always tell them is tell your daughters, tell the younger generation, start now. You don't have to wait to start taking care of yourself, right? It's so much harder to scurry around and fix it than it is just to prevent it in the first place. So why can't we start teaching our younger women that, they could take better care of their adrenal glands now. They don't need to run into a wall when they hit this stage in their life. And there was something I would like to just mention as well, as it just popped up for me. Women aren't acknowledging that these two important glands in their life that they've had their whole adult life, they're now gone, basically. Like they're in their body, but they're asleep. And I do feel there should be some kind of, maybe not a party or celebration, but some level of ceremonial acknowledgement of this loss. It's a loss. And a woman that goes through hysterectomies, which are often, it's a very 600,000 a year or something in this country.
Wow.
And maybe it's more now. Nobody talks to them about the emotional toll.
It's like a mourning process
of losing. Think about what these glands and organs are. The uterus is your center of creation as a woman. On an energetic and an emotional level, spiritual level, I feel there needs to be more for women than just go in and like this mechanical body, you'll just pull it out and now you go home and that's the end of it. And there's a lot of underlying trauma with that that's unresolved, a lot of emotional trauma. And we need to work on that. We need to really work on that for sure.
I agree. What would you say to the women out there that are watching and listening that are in menopause? They have symptoms, they're suffering, they're not getting any answers from their doctors, they're being misled or given misinformation, they're losing hope. What would be your message to them?
There's another way. And you just have to be willing. You have to be willing to change. What got you here, you can't keep doing. You have to be willing to make a change. And that's part of what we really work on, is empowering women to take that first step, to make a change and putting themselves first. Putting yourself first allows you to start making changes for yourself, because we are societally, I know because I'm reformed, I've retrained myself. Women are taught, if you put yourself first, you're selfish. You're supposed to martyr yourself and put everybody else and do for your community, do for your religious body, your church or your synagogue, be there for your kids, your spouse, your job. Everybody gets you and you're last on the totem pole. And that's part of the problem. That's a big part of this problem. And so acknowledging that they can't keep going that way, and that putting themselves first is actually the least selfish thing they could do for every single aspect of their lives, because they're going to show up in a completely different level of being for everybody else. That has to change. I would say that is the biggest understanding, is you've got to be willing to make some changes to embrace this new stage and feel amazing in this stage and start taking care of you.
Put yourself first. That's good advice for both women and men. If you fill your cup up, and your cup could overflow to everybody in your life, like you said, you'll show up more powerful, more vital, more energized. You'll be your true self, and then you could show up better, not just for yourself, but for your relationships when you put yourself first.
That's right.
So what are some ways that they can support their adrenals? What are some of the things that you do to really help with to master stress?
Well, stress is, threefold: physical, chemical, emotional. So you got to look at all of the things.
Yeah.
Right? Are you sitting too much? Are you exercising at all? Are you exercising too much, by the way?
Good point.
Over-exercising can absolutely stress your adrenals. I have this conversation every day with women. That's a big one for me as well. I mean, I'm in my 50s. I'm in menopause now. Even though I'm still physically so fit, I can do so much more than I'm doing. I do better with less. I actually find that when I skip days, even though I work out with weights and I do lots of things, I actually feel less inflamed, less stressed. I sleep better. It's just a different care that our body needs. So physical is really caring for yourself in those ways. Chemical is huge. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's huge. It's just constant everyday bombardment with chemicals. So how can we control our chemical stress? Working on internal blockages and interferences, whether it's infections or things like heavy metals, or just, having glyphosate in your body from eating non-organic foods, which even eating organic foods, we can get glyphosate. And because there's so much cross-contamination. And I mean, it's complicated, guys, but I know it's not perfect, and you don't have to change it in one day. But when you run out of eyeliner, maybe find a less toxic version of that. And you can use lots of apps and things, you can look that up. But women are exposed to way more toxins than men. We just put more stuff on our bodies. Our hair, our makeup, our perfumes are horrendous for hormones. What you're washing your clothes with, what you're, it's just the air things in your house that smell, what do they call them? Plugins.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, how can we minimize our exposures and then add good things in, like water filtration, air filtration, and not have to do it all in one day. And it doesn't have to be expensive. It can be just, how can we clean up the chemical stressors? And then working with a practitioner really makes a difference when you can work on deeper detox and helping with underlying infections and things. And that could be, there's lots of women are putting Botox and chemical fillers and things in their face for beauty, but they don't realize they're adding to the dis-ease inside their body. Their body now is being distracted, where it's normally able to detox things. Now it gets overburdened just from the things that we're trying to look good.
Right.
And then, of course, then emotional stress. So what can we do every day? Like, I get up and I'm addicted to the brain tap. That's just something that I absolutely love. I work on my lymphatics. I actually brought some of my tools that I use with me, but I do lymphatic drainage every day. And I make sure that, how do I put myself first? I literally put myself first in the day. I don't talk to anybody
Sorry, Troy.
He'll know. He knows I just want to be alone in the morning. I just need my me time. So I work on my mindset. I work on my stress reduction. I lay on like a infrared grounding mat with red light. I put my brain tap on. I do that at least once a day, sometimes twice a day. On my busy days, I actually take like a half-hour break and do it again. And that really sets the tone. Now I have new things I'm doing. I'm getting out and trying to watch the sunrise every day, watch the sunset every day. It's not easy. I'm busy. I want to go and do and all that too. And I'm in the process of how can I watch the sunset and do the brain tap, which is supposed to have your eyes closed, right? And do all the things and fit it all in. And then I also love moving my body. For me, it's a big stress relief. And even on those days that I'm not doing any heavy stuff, I still will walk and do lighter things or stretch or just kind of honor my body on those days. And like I said, I always move my lymphatics. So we have a Vibe plate I stand on, and I use my Flow Vibe. I brought a few tools. I use my Flow Vibe. I don't know, Kelly Kennedy.
Love Kelly Kennedy. Yeah.
A good friend of
mine.
We
love her.
And,
yeah.
So there's a biosonic vibrational tool that I use on my lymphatics, and I do manual lymphatic stuff every day. Just things that I know are helping me get me in a better state every day. So it doesn't have to cost money. You don't need all the tools. Like you could just do breathing exercises. Mm-hmm. Go on YouTube and find a breathing exercise that you like. Free. Right? Bob Proctor has one of my favorite meditations of all time, his abundance meditation. It's been there for me for I don't even know how many years. And I definitely started with free meditations. You can find so much. There's so much content out there. But those are really good ways. It's just like, how do you wake up in the day? Do you wake up and start rushing around making, lunches for other people? Or are you like giving yourself time? Are you giving yourself, even if it's 20, 15 minutes, it's still better than zero.
I agree. I love that you brought up Bob Proctor, my favorite. That's speaking my love language there with Bob Proctor. Yes. He's right there on the wall.
Oh my God, I didn't even see that. Hi, Bob.
I study him every day. Even I was in my infrared sauna just a couple hours ago watching some of his videos on YouTube.
Yep.
I want to ask, you mentioned the 3 different areas of stress. We have the mental, physical, and emotional. Let's get into more of the physical a little bit. How important is it to build lean muscle mass as a perimenopausal, postmenopausal woman?
Yeah, it's extremely critical at that stage. I mean, our bodies start losing muscle at around age 35. And every year it actually accelerates. Every decade it's accelerating. So I want to have my independence. I want to be able to travel in my 90s. I'll be around for the great grandkids by then, right? And be able to get on the floor, get up off the floor, feed myself, dress myself, drive a car. That's my plan, right? And if we're losing muscle every year after age 35, you're talking about, 50, 60 years later of losing muscle. So it is critical for any person, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman or what stage you're in, to be working on your lean muscle tissue. It is critical. Doesn't have to take a lot of time, 30 minutes 3 times a week of just covering all the different areas. And that's enough actually to boost your hormones. It really makes a difference with men and women. Like you want to raise your testosterone, start doing some legs. Start doing legs, do the bigger muscle groups, like work on that stuff. It will help you. It really will go up. In addition to that, it boosts your energy, it boosts your brain function. Wow, we're having an epidemic right now of that, I think, right? It just seems like more people are driving around, like, on the road. I'm like, does anybody know what the hell's going on anymore? I feel like people are, not to be judgmental, but there's a significant difference in the last few years. Of course, we've had a lot of extra toxins come along. It's significantly noticeable that people seem kind of out of it a lot. And when I meet people, it's one of the biggest concerns women have is they're losing their edge in the workplace. And there was a study that came out, 3,000 women they looked at that had just one menopausal symptom by age 50. 43% of them were out of the workforce at 55.
Wow.
They left. So I think about like what does the average woman make? Maybe 40 or 50,000 in this country or something a year times 10. That's what they're now losing that in their work years. Financially, it's a huge problem. And we need women in the workforce, right? We need our brains, our creativity, our ability to multitask. Like, we bring something different to the table. We can't be having women mass exodusing from the workforce. And that's what's happening. It's almost 50%. I mean, that's really high.
It's crazy.
Yep.
With the exercise, you mentioned 30 minutes, 3 times a week, hitting different body parts. That'll do it to keep up, not just keep up with the decline of muscle mass, but actually to build muscle mass and overcome the decline. Should protein be increased at this time for postmenopausal women?
Yeah, it can be. It can be. I feel varying it is
some days high protein, some days not so much.
Yeah, diet variation is always best. I personally love experimenting with all of this, going carnivore for a little while, or having, being more keto, or I land mostly on more of a Mediterranean, that just my body just thrives. But I absolutely make sure I'm getting 3 to 4 really good quality portions of protein every day, because we need protein to build the muscle.
Yeah.
So if you're having trouble building muscle, you absolutely are going to need more of that protein to do that.
What are some ways that you use for your patients and clients to track their stress level, to see if, we know about hormesis. We talk a lot about stress not being bad unless you're not adapting to it. Stress being very good when you adapt to it. So raising this hormetic ceiling. And I personally look at my, of course, heart rate variability. Is that something you recommend as well, looking at heart rate variability and sleep as a way to see if you're adapting to these stressors?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so many great tools that we have, and all of the tools are great, whether it's the strap around your wrist or on your finger. And there's other good tools that you can use to monitor, like heart math, right? To actually work on that. We used to have a machine in the office when we had people coming in. They could put their hand on it. It was like a NASA machine. Really cool. They could put their hand on it. We can read their whole heart rate variability.
That's cool.
It was really, really cool. But we really we stopped using it. And now there's so many gadgets and things that people can get. And I really do try to get people away from their iWatches, because they're giving off so many EMFs. That's one of the things I like about the Ring, because you can really turn it off and then just download your stuff into it, so it's not disrupting your sleep at the same time. But yeah, those are all wonderful tools. And also just tuning in and becoming more self-aware. I feel like we're so disconnected. I mean, we're taught to disconnect, right? If you have a headache, take this thing. If you have heartburn, take that thing. If you're constipated, take this thing, whatever. I mean, we're disconnected from our body's messages. We're not listening. If you just can listen, you have the most incredible tool right in front of us that you don't need to buy. You could just start tuning into that tool, doing some breathing and really asking, you have a knee pain, like, what is it that you're trying to tell me? Ask your knee. Like, literally sounds so corny, but you can stop and take some deep breaths and relax and just, what do you need from me? You would be surprised just what you might get as an answer. Things show up in funny ways, but this is just a really cool tool. So I know, your heart rate goes up when you're stressed. You might be snappy. There might be, we could recognize when our bucket is overflowing, and to like have some tools to undo that, just naturally listening to your body.
Yeah, it's great advice. The body's always communicating to us, and symptoms are a gift. It's a way of the body. It's expressing what's going on.
Yeah.
With your practice and some of the things that you're doing. So I'm going to just put the 3 different categories here, 3 different ways that practitioners are dealing with menopausal women. We'll put category 1. They're just telling you to suck it up. It's part of the process. Symptoms are common. they don't really have any solutions. That's one camp. Camp number 2 is better, I believe, and you could tell me if you disagree, but at least they're focusing on, okay, let's replace some of these hormones, bioidentical hormones, maybe progesterone creams or whatever it is. And then there's a camp number 3, which I think is where you lie, and which is a variation of maybe sometimes hormones, but not necessarily all the time. There's different ways to kind of go about it. So what is it that you're doing that's different than these 2 other camps out there?
So we take people through a transformational journey. We guide them, we educate them, we empower them with knowledge. We teach them how to take care of themselves, how to put themselves first, how to manage their stress, how to have more quality sleep. We work on detoxification and we empower them with that tool. That's a really, really, really